What's good, TMG fam? It's your boy Ellen. I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute, man. Listen, man, we about to get into the next video. All right, check this out. This video here, check this out. The 5 game endings almost no one has ever seen. Now, like, who hitting me right now? My bad. Now listen, man. I used to be a pretty good gamer back in the day. Played a lot of games, man. But I don't consider myself to be the ultimate gamer like a lot of these gamers nowadays, man. These dudes are at the top level. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm interested to see like what game endings they could be talking about now. Number one game comes to mind is stuff like Mario, different Marios and things like that. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. But I'm interested to see what all they have in store. All right, so we're gonna check out this video. I got a 2-piece for y'all. We're gonna check out this video as well as the 5 video games secretly created by the military. Now, if you're like me, I was totally clueless that the military was involved in creating some video games. Now, I did hear about maybe some of the controllers that we use were military inspired. I did hear that at one point in time, but never knew they were behind some of the video games. So I'm interested to see this video as well. So if you're new to the channel, man, hit the subscribe button, join the fam, and let's get to it.
Ever heard the phrase, it's about the journey, not the destination? Certain video game.
Uh-oh, I'm bad.
Ever heard the phrase, it's about the journey, not the destination? Certain video games must agree, as while you'll have a ton of fun playing them, beating them is virtually impossible. Check out these 5 classic games whose ending...
Before cheat codes. Beating video games before cheat codes. Nowadays, people just go log into the internet and find a cheat code to beat the video game in like a day or so. You know what I'm saying? Like, I rarely see somebody take a game start to finish anymore. It's all cheat codes nowadays.
Things almost no one has ever seen. Remember when Neil Young sang about how it's better to burn out than to fade away? He was talking about Johnny Rotten, but the same sentiment can be applied to Flappy Bird. This highly addictive game showed up, exploded in popularity, then disappeared in the blink of an eye. In early 2013, a game designer named Dong Nguyen created Flappy Bird as a response to what he saw as games growing overly complicated and needlessly flashy. He felt simple, colorful games that were...
I missed that wave. I totally missed the Flappy Bird wave.
Nevertheless, insanely hard to beat were the way to go, and Flappy Bird was exactly that. Anyone can figure out how to play, since all you did was press the spacebar to make Flappy Bird jump and avoid pipes. Actually avoiding them, however, proved incredibly hard. Most players couldn't earn more than a handful of points. It didn't help that Nguyen yanked the game almost as soon as it went big. After months of obscurity, an early 2014 review from mega-popular YouTuber PewDiePie propelled Flappy Bird to viral status. Soon everyone was playing the game, and Nguyen was making around $50,000 in revenue per day. That is an...
Let that sink into your brain. Let that sink into your brain. Shout out Cypress Hill, insane in the membrane. Listen, bro, 50 G's a day? That's crazy, fam, to even fathom and think of. And why did he yank it? Like, that made no sense.
Until Nguyen pulled the game from all app stores in February 2014, citing guilt over the game's highly addictive nature. He's since re-released it in a different form, but it's not the same Flappy Bird that caused millions to pull their hair out trying to reach the end. So what did happen if you beat the game? As it turns out, once you hit 999 points, Flappy meets Super Mario. Trouble is, Mario apparently thinks Flappy is a cheap because he's out for blood. He shoots fireballs at poor Flappy until finally he jumps on his head, killing him instantly like so many Goombas before him. It's kind of a weird idea to put your players through a nigh impossible game only to anticlimactically murder them at the end.
That's cold-blooded, fam. Oh, you mean to tell me I just like I pretty much spent this amount of time with this video game and it did me like that in the end. Like, I neglected my kids and my family, because you know a lot of people did that, right? Neglected their family for this game. Like, you know, I neglected family for this, for me to ultimately not be able to get past Mario for him just to jump on my head and not die. Oh, I would be heated, bro. That would cause a video game rage, definitely.
That said, it's also kind of funny, not to mention way better than torturing the player with a game over screen like so many simple games before it. If you've never played Pac-Man, you're either in preschool or you're a dirty, filthy liar. From the moment it debuted in 1980, the adventures of a little yellow dot with a ravenous
I never seen the end of Pac-Man.
appetite and major haunting issues has been one of the most popular games of all time. This despite the fact that it's essentially the same level over and over again. You run around a maze and eat dots while 4 ghosts chase you. Eat all the dots and you win the level. The only real difference between the levels is that the ghosts get faster every time. By level 21, they're zooming around at a pace that would make even the Roadrunner beep at them to slow down and rest a bit. It's because of that insane speed that few players actually made it to level 255, the final level of the game. The developers were so sure that nobody would do so, in fact, that they never created an ending. So there's no congratulations screen, no story of Pac-Man finally vanquishing the ghost with the help of his neighbor Exorcist Man, and no scene where Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man dance on the graves of whatever bodies died to create the ghosts. So what happens should you beat level 255? Well, the game actually continues. Kind of. See, in the 8-bit arcade era, systems couldn't handle more than 255 bits of data. If you ever played the original Legend of Zelda and wondered why you couldn't collect more than 255 rupees at a time, that's why. So when you reach level 256 in Pac-Man, the game literally cannot even. The entire right half of the screen glitches out and becomes awash in random code, letters, symbols, numbers, and colors. It's nearly impossible to play at this point unless you've completely memorized the maze and get lucky when avoiding the ghosts, who by this point are faster than a speeding bullet.
Wow. And do you know people still play Pac-Man to this day, man? The nostalgic video games that you would play, like this dude is playing right here on the screen right now, people are ordering and putting them in there like their man caves and different arcade rooms for themselves. Shout outs to Eminem. You see him sometimes go live and it just be him sitting there playing his Pac-Man game. Like they say he still loves it and is addicted to Pac-Man. So it's still thriving to this day.
You somehow manage to get past level 256, you advance, if you can call it that, to a faster version of level 1. Beat that, and you go to the main.
See, just like how that room right there is looking. Hold on. Back up.
If you can call it that, to a faster version of level 1. Beat that.
Yeah, see? A lot of people are ordering these old games like this, man. I kind of want to do the same thing once I get a little more space in the man cave. Maybe my next spot, I'll be able to get some of these, man, and play some of those old games, because I like played this dude in Walmart one time, just in Walmart randomly, and they had the Street Fighter one up, and I was like, oh snap, man, that just took me back. So I definitely want to get some of these.
That, and you go to the main screen to start all over again. That'll teach you to get good. Donkey Kong is another early 80s arcade game that became an immediate hit. The story of a giant ape kidnapping a fair damsel named Pauline and a pudgy plumber running and jumping up tower after tower to save her proved popular enough to spawn an entire company's future. Without Donkey Kong, there would be no Mario, and probably no Nintendo.
Really? I didn't know without Donkey Kong was first. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
No. You know your game is great when you release it with a ridiculous name. Seriously, Donkey Kong is clearly not a donkey, and everybody is having too much fun to care. The story only spans 4 levels, which are then repeated with obstacles increasingly becoming faster and harder to avoid. But you can see the ending after just one cycle. Well, one of the endings anyhow. Donkey Kong has 4 endings, but you've likely only seen the one where Mario collapses the tower, Donkey Kong falls to his death, Mario rescues Pauline, and they live happily ever after. At least until he leaves her for Princess Peach. Hey,
Pauline was the person you rescued. Look at how the names were just so simple. But Pauline, we gotta go get Pauline.
If you were a workaday plumber probably living paycheck to paycheck, wouldn't you jump at the chance to canoodle with rich royalty? The next 2 endings are rarer. You can only see them if they're randomly generated, and that doesn't happen often. In ending 2, Kong falls to his death as before, but squashes Mario in the process. You can even see our plucky plumber's disembodied head beside Kong's lifeless body. Who knew a 1981 arcade game for kids contained a gory scene that would rival anything out of Mortal Kombat? As for poor Pauline, she's left on top of the tower all alone, heartbroken and confused. I like to think she found consolation in Luigi's loving arms shortly thereafter. Then there's ending 3, the most bizarre one of all. Here, Mario collapses the tower, but Pauline falls to her death. Mario and Donkey Kong lock eyes and a heart appears.
Oh, they just messing with us at this point. They just messing with you, man.
Between them, the implication is that a human and an ape have just fallen in love, which raises all sorts of disturbing questions. What would their dates be like? Do they sire children? Would anyone allow them to adopt? How does Mario explain Pauline's death to the...
That just lets you know, fam, it's some sick people that create these video games. They're geniuses, man, but at the same time, they're equally sick.
authorities. Better to just move on and discuss the fourth ending, which occurs on level 22. Up until now, the game had been awarding bonus points based on an algorithm that took the level number, multiplied it by 10, and then added 40. Problem is, 22 times 10 plus 40 equals 260, which is higher than the 255 bits of data that the games of the era could handle. The result? Level 22 glitches, and Mario dies seconds after starting up. No barrels or fire hits him, he just mysteriously croaks. Maybe it was a heart attack from all the pasta. Mentioned that.
And that's not my sound, y'all. That's the video sound that does that. It just goes insane in between.
Toads to any 90s gamer and watch their eyes roll back in horror. That's not because the game was bad, but because it was so insanely difficult that forcing someone to play through it could possibly be considered cruel and unusual punishment. On its surface, the game is basic enough. You play as one of two Battletoads on a mission to rescue Princess Angelica and Toad number 3, Pimple, from the clutches of the evil Dark Queen. What saves it from being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles but with Toads is how it's one of the most frustratingly difficult
That Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game still gives me nightmares of how hard it was, man. Oh my gosh, that game was hard.
Video games in history. In particular, the wind tunnel level is perhaps the most infamous example of a game being infuriatingly and unnecessarily challenging. Even TMNT's traumatic water bomb level can't compete with Battletoads' controller-destroying challenge. It's no wonder many gamers have never seen the end of the game. However, despite it seeming impossible, you can beat Battletoads, and there is an ending. The final boss is the Dark Queen, who isn't nearly as much of a challenge as the obstacles she's laid out for the Toads. Beat her, and she runs away. She declares that she'll be back, and then she disappears in a tornado of evil. You rescue Pimple and Angelica, return to your ship, declare it's time to party, and then you leave. It's all pretty anticlimactic, especially after all that hair-pulling challenge. They should have at least forced the Queen to race through her own wind tunnel for all eternity as punishment. That'll earn her.
Right.
Next time you're offline and try to access Google Chrome, hit the spacebar. That T-Rex you see will spring to life and start running. Welcome
What?
to the Chrome T-Rex game. Proof that you don't need the internet to waste time on the internet. The game's premise is as simple as can be. T-Rex runs and you have to use the spacebar to make him jump over cacti, birds, and other obstacles. Keep it up until you lose. The challenge comes from the game getting increasingly faster as you rack up the points. Once you hit 1,000 points, you're practically screaming across the screen, and you likely won't keep your dinosaur buddy alive much longer. But people just keep trying. Since its launch in 2014, T-Rex game has been played billions of times. By 2018, it was averaging 270
Look, it's people just want to be offline, fam, just to do that. It looked like he put his phone in airplane mode so he don't be disturbed. Like, this is what video games will do to you, people. It will do that. Like I said, you will neglect your family outside, like everything. Look.
million plays per month. It has proven so addicting, in fact, Google's developers were forced to give companies and schools the option to disable the game. Simply put, too many students and workers were wasting too much time playing it. All this for a game where virtually nobody has even beaten level 1. That's because to do so, you need to amass a whopping 100,000 points. Once you accomplish this nearly impossible task, you get a quick attaboy from Google, and then level 2 begins. This is, of course, provided your spacebar doesn't completely dissolve by that point. As for the ending, nobody knows the ending. That's okay though, because you won't ever see it. This has nothing to do with your gaming abilities and everything to do with how you are not immortal. According to the developers, it would take around 17 million years to make it to the end of T-Rex game. To compare, the T-Rex species only lived for 2 million years before that dang meteor killed them off. Maybe stick with Mario games? The princess might be in another castle, but at least you can make it to the castle.
Bro, that just reminds you of how addictive video games are, man. They're addictive, fam. I'm telling you. They got me through a lot of hard times, but also, man, I wasted a lot of time playing some of them. So I can agree. But let's check out, man, video games secretly created by the military. I don't even know if we should be watching this.
Space War was a Pentagon-funded video game that predated the famous granddaddy of them all, Pong. Space War was the brainchild of 6 graduate students at MIT in the early 1960s and is considered by many to be the first true video game. Space War was the first shoot-'em-up multiplayer video game. What the Pentagon would rather the public not know is that it paid for the game's entire development. By the 1950s, the Pentagon knew that technological dominance would lead to modern military dominance. The Soviet Union's launching of Sputnik in 1957 was a massive shock for America's military and political establishment. The feeling was that the U.S. was lagging behind the USSR. Within a year of Sputnik's launch, President Dwight Eisenhower established the Advanced Research Project Agency, precursor to DARPA, which would later develop what we now know as the Internet. Military money flowed freely into nearly anything related to computer technology. This Pentagon largesse included funding for the electrical engineering labs at MIT. In 1961, MIT's lab acquired a microcomputer, the Program Data Processor 1, or PDP-1. It cost a princely $100,000, the equivalent of roughly $850,000 in today's money. Woo. A student study group was formed called, quote, the Hingham Institute Study Group on Space Warfare. This motley group of nerdy pro hackers at MIT would create the first video game.
And there you have it. The very first video game. The very first of a long line of video games. These guys are responsible for the wave that is currently going on today. We gotta take a second and salute these gentlemen, man. Listen, because the video game world is, what, $1 billion or $1 trillion industry probably by now? It's crazy. It is literally crazy. So these guys we have to thank for that, man. Salute them.
The students were inspired by the space opera books of E.E. Doc Smith and used the PDP-1 to develop a space simulation. One student coded a simple rocket flying program that involved steering ships around a collapsed star, while another programmed a replica of the night sky into the simulation. 2 players could use switches and knobs to maneuver spaceships through a gravity field of a star while firing missiles at each other. The MIT crew never imagined anyone would pay for interactive entertainment like Space War. Back in 1962, computers were uncommon, and household computers were unheard of. The team gave away the code to anyone who asked. Within a year, Digital Entertainment Corporation, which was PDP-1's manufacturer, was including the game with every PDP-1 it shipped. The game went viral. It became so popular on college campuses that Stanford University was forced to ban it during business hours.
Even back then, they had to ban it, man. I'm telling you, you can't get studies done. You can't get nothing done. Video games, man. My parents used to be like, yo, that stuff is gonna rot your brain. That's all you do, sit around and play video games. And who would have known? Now it's a lot of people making hella money off of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. I should have stuck at it, not listened to my parents.
One of those playing Space War was a student at the University of Utah named Nolan Bushnell. Bushnell went on to found Atari, the first commercially successful video game company that brought technology into millions of homes. Space War still exists today in many forms. There are countless knockoffs available on computers, tablets, and mobile platforms. But the original, played on a PDP-1, is still considered the best.
Wow. Wow. I like these history lessons, man. Wow.
Atari released its Battlezone arcade game in 1981, and it was an instant success. The game with eerie green wireframe graphics put the player at the controls of a tank wandering the wilderness of a futuristic-looking battlefield, shooting down enemy tanks, UFOs, and missiles. The game's immense success garnered the attention of military brass. The United States Army was interested in finding ways to train new recruits in battle scenarios at a fraction of the cost. An adaptive video game of Battlezone would be perfect as a training simulator for the Army's latest infantry fighting vehicle, the M2 Bradley. The Bradley trainer was born. The game's development was shrouded in secrecy at the time, and was the brainchild of a think tank of retired U.S. Army officers. The goal was for Atari to develop a prototype, with the think tank then pitching it to the U.S. Army. The programmer of the original Battlezone game, Ed Rockberg, a staunch pacifist, had to be convinced to work on the new project. Rockberg eventually relented to the commercial good of Atari, while others involved in the project believed that the development of the new prototype was a patriotic endeavor. But there were tensions between Atari developers regarding the secret project. The Atari team was under pressure from the start. The project needed to be delivered within 10 months, and the plan was for the simulator to be showcased at a military conference by the think tank in 1981. The controls were a major challenge. In Battlezone, players used twin sticks as an interface, while the Bradley trainer used an adapted gunnery yoke that allowed the user to aim across both an X and Y axis. This would make training for the M2 Bradley more realistic. However, it's believed only 2 prototypes were ever even produced. The project was cancelled for reasons unknown, and no M2 Bradley crewman ever trained on the system.
And there you have it, the birth of simulators to what we know today. You know what I mean? A lot of different places and industries use simulators to train their employees, man. Like, I know with me working in the trucking industry, they use simulators for 18-wheelers, bro. So what you'll do is you'll come in and you'll sit down at this like big, huge screen, right? It'll be like 3, 1 big one in the middle, 2 off to the side. They're big screens. They span out wide, right? And you'll sit down and you're literally like inside of a tractor trailer. And you have a trailer attached to you, have a tractor, you have a trailer attached to you, and you're simulating different elements of that you'll encounter while you're driving. Snow, rain, different hazardous conditions, residential areas, children playing, you know, everything you gotta be alert for, construction zones, different wrecks and how to maneuver around, or just different things to get you, you know, acclimated to what you'll face out on the road. So you got to salute these guys, man. The birth of simulation.
In 1993, a small developer from Texas called id Software released Doom. The game pioneered the first-person shooter genre that continues to dominate the industry. This time, it was the Marine Corps that took an interest in how a video game could offer cost-effective simulated training. However, different from other military agencies, the United States Marine Corps has a small budget and is notoriously frugal. The Marine Corps budget typically accounts for only about 4% of the Defense Department's total. In fact, in 1995, the Marine Corps had a budgetary deficit and needed a cheaper way to train recruits. Thus, it mandated its modeling and simulation management office with finding a commercial product that could be modified for Marine training needs. Lieutenant Scott Barnett and Sergeant Dan Snyder were assigned to play PC games on the market. The 2 men spent hours playing every video game available that might meet the needs of the Marine Corps.
What a job, just to sit and play video games. What a job.
They eventually selected Doom 2. In that game, the player controls a Marine defending Mars from the ferocious fiends of hell. It's all about firepower, which was perfect given that every Marine is a trained rifleman. Barnett and Snyder needed a quick, twitchy game to encourage Marines to think fast in the face of danger. Doom 2 had that. It was also one of the few games that supported networked multiplayer functionality and allowed for easy modification. Barnett decided to modify the game from its sci-fi Mars terrain to a small desert village. The original game's demon enemies became human adversaries who resembled Nazis. Marine Doom never became an official training tool, but Marines were still encouraged to play it, and it was sanctioned to be installed on government PCs. In 1997, then Commander of the Marine Corps, General Charles C. Krulak, issued a directive supporting the use of PC games for strategic military purposes. Shockingly, the entire cost of the development of Marine Doom was just $50, including the salary of the Marines involved. The Marine Corps leadership loved the game. The simulation forced players to think on their feet, practice teamwork, and make decisions in stressful situations.
Wow.
Not only that, but Marines loved playing it. Newer, better games came along, but Marine Doom's legacy prevails. The Doom suite of games remains scary, fast-paced, and extremely violent.
Anybody else like ready to go play a video game right now? Or is it just me? Is it just me? I'm like super ready to go play.
The game called America's Army is arguably the highest profile and most controversial military video game to date. It was first released in 2002, and because it was intended as a recruiting tool, it was available for free download or on disc at Army recruitment offices. America's Army was developed as an online multiplayer first-person shooter game that had players assuming the role of different infantry-related jobs in the Army. It was entirely financed and developed by the U.S. Army. The game was also designed to reinforce Army values and training. For example, players have to complete a virtual boot camp and marksmanship test before going online. Specialized roles like medic or sniper are locked behind further tiers of advanced training. Players love its focus on small unit technical maneuvers that place them in an elite team deployed behind enemy lines in the fictional country Slovenia. Players can be deployed on a wide range of realistic missions, ranging from the extraction of a VIP to destroying the enemy's military assets and taking control of strategically important territory. The game has attracted several million players on both PCs and consoles, and has been openly acknowledged by the U.S. Army's Public Relations Office as being a crucial recruitment and marketing tool. The game quickly became controversial for openly targeting teenagers in its marketing. The game was indeed aimed at getting teenagers interested in a career in the Army long before they turned 18.
Wow. Wow.
Video game developer Slitherine is well respected in the gaming community for its expansive product range of strategy and war titles. The original Command Model Air Naval Operations game was released by Slitheриne's Matrix Games in 2013. Command Professional Edition, or Command PE, followed in 2015. Command PE offers a physics-based battle space environment simulation tool for military contractors and offers logistics training and analysis for armed forces. According to Ian McNeil, CEO of Slitherine, one of the main reasons military professionals are attracted to Command PE is the sheer quantity of military asset data it offers. In the words of McNeil, quote, "We spent decades researching the data that goes into Command, and the database that's included with the game has every conceivable weapon system, aircraft, ship, and radar from 1945 up until the near future."
Wow.
McNeil continues, "For every country around the world, if you think of something, it's in there. There are probably 100 variants on the F-16 in there. On top of that, each one has dozens of different loadouts for the mission that's been given." It's contended by Slitherine that some military customers are interested in the game just for the unparalleled database, but it also serves other purposes. For example, it can be used for fuel technology and costing exercises, and analytical data is plugged in as the military user sees fit. Another feature of Command PE is that while first-person simulations are often used with joysticks or consoles, the game generally uses a PC, which better mimics how an actual military command center functions. There's a dedicated division within the Slitherine group that was established for the sole purpose of managing classified military contracts. It's from this secretive department that Command PE was born.
I'm calling my parents after this and letting them know, man. I should have kept playing video games, man. I should have. Just listen to all this history. Wow, who would have known, man? Who would have known the significance, let alone anything else, just the significance, man, and things that it aided and helped and trained people for and recruited, to which they tried to get a handle on that. So they was targeting teens too much. But y'all get at me and let me know, man. What a great video. Y'all let me know what y'all thought in the comment section below, man. Leave a like for your guy. Let me know how you feel. And stick around and stay tuned to the next reaction, man. I'm out. Peace, y'all. Stay solid. Hey.